rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events, this is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Well, Facebook is looping. I don't know about that. Anyway, nothing is working. Counter is working. Boy, it seems like there's a lot of people who are saying this stuff is all over. Oh, there I am. Okay. Great. Technological refluxes are happening all over the place, I guess. I don't know. Oh, boy. All right. Well, we had some decisions come down from the Supreme Court, but not necessarily the ones that I'm waiting on. Yeah. There was a, let's see. Why are you not going to the live? There we go. Maybe, I don't know. Huh. Interesting. I'm sorry. I was looking at myself on Rumble and Rumble looked a little weird. Anyway, we'll continue. Okay. So here's the thing. Yeah. Two Facebook live broadcasts. Really? Just two Facebooks? You mean the only one that is actually functioning normally is potentially X? X being the only one that might be working? Oh my goodness. I hate that. Anyway, let's go back to what I was doing. All right. So, as I was saying, SCOTUS issued some opinions today, but not the one that I'm waiting on. The one that I'm waiting on is the birthright citizenship case. Now, they did announce, and keep in mind, whenever this is, going as long as this has, they can add days where they issue opinions, and that's what they've done this time. They weren't planning on going beyond today in terms of issuing opinions, but they have decided that they're going to issue an opinion, the opinions on Monday. So there will be more opinions issued on Monday, and I'm hoping and crossing my fingers and praying that the birthright citizenship piece comes out then. But until then, we do have a few that came out today that are consequential. And so I'm going to go through a few of those tonight. Plus, we also have, at least one Democrat is feeling the pressure. And by feeling the pressure, I mean feeling the pressure from the socialist idiots that are attempting to take over the Democrat Party, that are almost there. He didn't react too well. This particular Democrat didn't react too well when being asked just a simple question. And I'll get to that in just a moment. But first, we are at the top of the order. So therefore, it means it is Amy. That's right. Amy is up for the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with Amy as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank you, Amy, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself reciting or performing the pledge in your style. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file, and attach it to an email. And then send that email to me. Send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation. I have 24 out of my desired 26 for 2026. 2026, right here. 250th anniversary. So, if you haven't done so yet, if you haven't sent one in, please do so. Send it in as soon as you can. If you use your phone to record it, all you need to do is use the share option. That's the S-H-A-R-E option. And you'll be able to send it in to fans at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation as quickly as possible. Tonight, our headline sponsor is, well, my Whiskey Warrior P1s can guess, The American View. That's right. And you can get to their website by going to theamericanview.com. Used to be known as the Institute on the Constitution. But now they are The American View. And The American View, by the way, has a vision. That vision is a nation of effective and influential contributors to American government, society, and culture, prepared by educational resources focused on the biblical and transformative heritage of America's founding. That's right. That's what they want. And if you want to be a defender of truth, liberty, and God-given rights, you need to learn about the proper interpretation of the U.S. Constitution. And you can do that by acquiring their U.S. Constitution course. That's right. You can acquire their U.S. Constitution course. And if you want, you can go and learn from the founders. Start your constitutional journey for free. Lesson 1 is free. All you have to do is put in your first name, last name, and your email address. Click the Get Lesson 1 free button, and they'll email it directly to your inbox. Learn at your own pace with the 100% online, nationally recognized course. And once you're done with that, go and learn from their other courses. And once you finish their other courses, maybe you'll consider joining their community. You can either be a donator or a sponsor. You can become a member. You can also become an instructor. That's right. Becoming an instructor can help you to pass on a legacy by passing on your newfound knowledge and understanding of the Constitution to others. Leave a legacy, restore the constitutional republic, and prepare the future by hosting a course in your community. Become an instructor today. They have a couple of videos that you can watch. One is how to become an instructor, and then the other one is 5 tips for a successful class. Both of these videos, they prepare you. They help you. They help you along the way. And their instructor kit is absolutely fabulous. Their instructor kit that they have is available as well. You know what? You just purchase the kit anyway. I mean, seriously, because it's got all kinds of information that you need, not only to be an instructor, but also all the stuff that you need to learn. I mean, seriously, buy their instructor kit. It's fantastic. And if you head on over to their shop, there's a little red button up in the upper right-hand corner. You can pick up all kinds of other things. You know, I don't ever show the other educational resources. So let me just dive in there real quick. Take a look at this. They have all these books, digital downloads. They have all kinds of things that you can look. Look at this. They got the duty of the jury, which is a class that they have. Those are student materials. They have the sheriff and the citizen. That's one of their other classes. That's right. You can look at all of these books. They've got digital downloads of books for all kinds of things. They have the story of Lavoy Finicum there. They have the Convention of States, possibility, Article 5, possibilities there, the history of education in America. They've got all kinds of stuff here. You need to go and check all of this out. But there is a fantastic place that you can go, and that is the Legacy Library. If you head off to the Legacy Library, you'll be presented with leather objects. I love leather. I love my leather. You have the leather Declaration of Independence, the leather Bill of Rights, the leather U.S. Constitution wall hanging. Man, let me tell you, if I just could, I would love to have those. I would love to have those in sealed frames. That would be awesome. And be able to hang them on my wall, man, let me tell you. But there is something there that you can get, which is fantastic, and that is the leather pocket Constitution. That's right. It's got Saddleback leather all around it. My Whiskey Warriors, they all say that it has sexy rounded corners. But take a look at this thing. Oh, and by the way, each rounded-cornered Saddleback leather book purchased will contribute to the gastrointestinal discomfort and general annoyance of the Democrat socialists that are out there, according to 3 Chevy, one of my Whiskey Warriors. Here you go. Got 1/8 of an inch of Saddleback leather wrapped around pages that are water and tear resistant. No cheap glue here, folks. It is stitched all the way through the leather and the pages that are containing within. Got a 100-year warranty against materials and manufacturing defects, such that if you have a problem with this thing within that time frame, you can send it back to the manufacturer, and they will either fix it or replace it for free. My Whiskey Warrior G says, the American View has a vision that is stitching perfected. That's right. It is the Constitution of the United States. Book here is buddy tested, buddy approved, Billy tasted, Billy approved. And my youngest Whiskey Warrior has confirmed that the information contained within will help you to achieve your civics badge in Scouts, as well as your civics exam, not to mention your naturalization test. Go to theamericanview.com, go to the Legacy Library, pick yours up today, this wonderful pocket Constitution. Trust me. You can carry this around with you all over the place, especially carrying it with you and ensure your God-given rights and that you know them all. The American View, found at theamericanview.com. Go and check them out today, and I thank them for being a sponsor of this program. All right. Well, you know, you would think that these leftist Democrats wouldn't be irritated by asking a simple question. Well, there's a video out. It was posted by Cameron Cawthorn on X. Hat tip to him. And apparently Seth Moulton, the Democrat, he was asked about the Democrat nominee for the United States Senate in Maine, none other than Graham Plattner. And, well, the journalist behind the camera who takes this video, he basically says, hey, do you endorse Graham Plattner in Maine? Well, let's just see. Let's just see the reaction of good old Seth Moulton.
Do you endorse Graham Plattner in Maine?
Who are you? Who are you asking this question? Can you answer that? You gotta do a better job at hanging on to your phone, too.
Yeah, you got to do a better job of hanging on to your phone. Okay, now keep in mind, folks, all I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think these people understand this, but that's assault. He physically grabbed something that someone else had in their hand, knocked it out of the guy's hand. That is simple assault right there. Touching somebody without their permission is considered assault. Yeah. So, yeah, well, they don't seem to be too happy about Graham Plattner. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't be too happy about Graham Plattner either, especially given the fact that he is sporting a Nazi tattoo for 17 years, being proud of it. Also, believes that women are sometimes responsible for their own rapes. Hung out on a predator site because, again, it's the Republicans who are supposed to be the predators, the misogynists, the racists, the Nazis, the pedophile people. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway, the Graham Plattner hung out on the predator site kick. He denigrates black people, apparently, and also Graham Plattner loves those porta potties because that just gets him excited. I'm going to leave that one alone. He hates the Jews. Yes, that's where it really is. Yes, he hates the Jews and he mocks Purple Heart recipients. Yeah, okay. Plattner, that's your, upheld, woohoo, hey, he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. No, I think really is the fact that he hates the Jews. That's the point. Because if you recall, in New York, Dan Goldman, who is, believe me, no moderate, but Dan Goldman got primaried by a guy, mainly just because of the fact that Dan Goldman actually supported Israel, meaning that he supported the right for Israel to exist. See, what a lot of people don't understand is Palestine. When you sit here and talk about free Palestine, there actually is no Palestine. There never has been. There never has been. The Palestinians are a people, but they have never had a nation state. Not a single one. They basically were sort of nomads, kind of like the gypsies. They were nomads in the area and the region. So, anyway, speaking of the Ma'am Danny backed socialists. Yeah. Speaking of the Ma'am Danny backed socialists, you remember how I told you there was one in particular who helped launch and was attached to a group whose goal was to eradicate Western civilization? Yeah, that was Dariel Zila Avila Chevalier, however it's pronounced. Anyway, she helped launch Columbia University's apartheid divest. Yeah. Yeah. This gal. Here. Take a look. That gal right there. Yep. That gal right there. Yep. She helped to found a group. Yeah. Oh, yeah. She made a career out of community organizing. By the way, she was actually interviewed, and the interviewer, she was saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I got a regular 9-to-5 job, and all of a sudden I had all this extra time on my hands. So I determined that I should go into politics. Yeah. She claims that she made a career out of community organizing, apparently in a biography that she wrote for an opinion piece in an independent news outlet called the Electronic Intifada. And in that same opinion piece, she wrote that she helped launch the boycott, divestment, and sanctions campaign, Columbia University Apartheid Digest. Well, by the way, they had a 2024 Instagram post. When are these people going to realize that once you put something out on the internet, it's there forever? Because this group posted in a now deleted 2024 Instagram post, quote, "We are Westerners fighting for the total eradication of Western civilization." Yeah. Yeah. Folks, wow. I just can't, I can't even imagine what the hell? Why do these people even have the opportunity to do this? Well, it's pretty simple. You know, all those white, overeducated, suburban women and young people who are disaffected, youth, they're also white as well. A vast majority are white. Yeah, it's because of them. And by overeducated, I actually mean indoctrinated, by the way. Anyway, the post continued that they put up that it said, "We stand in full solidarity with every movement for liberation in the global South. Our intifada is an international one. We are fighting for nothing less than the liberation of all people." Yeah, we reject every genocidal, eugenicist regime that seeks to undermine the personhood of the colonized. Okay, I'd like to ask the question. They reject every genocidal regime, okay? They reject every genocidal regime. What do you think the Islamist extremists are? Yeah. Also, eugenicists. Oh, yeah. You know who eugenicists are? Well, I can tell you one. Her name is Margaret Sanger. She founded Planned Parenthood. Yeah, she was a eugenicist. And yet the Democrats, they love her. They love Planned Parenthood. They love abortions. Which, by the way, nearly 50% of the abortions that are done by Planned Parenthood are all black babies. So apparently she is a hypocrite because she rejects the eugenicist regimes. Oh, so she rejects Planned Parenthood? That'd be a first. That'd be the first time I've ever heard of a Democrat that that rejected Planned Parenthood. Yeah. Okay, and speaking of colonization, just as a point in fact, where do you think the Islamists who want to make Islam not a, but the religion of the world? Yeah. What do you think an Islamist is? Well, they're genocidal. They are colonizers. That's what they are. Yeah. Anyway. Well, Columbia University itself has roundly denounced the group and says it is not affiliated in any way with the school, even though it's named Columbia University. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, by the way, in case you didn't know, Avila Chevalier, if that's the correct pronunciation, I don't give a shit. Anyway, she was born in Florida to Dominican immigrants, and she converted to Islam in the recent years. Wait, hold up. She converted to Islam? Oh, hold up. Let me go back and read that statement. We reject every genocidal, eugenicist regime that seeks to undermine the personhood of the colonized. Wait. She She converted to Islam, which Islam, especially the Islamic extremists, are definitely genocidal because they want to wipe out the West. And if you listen to the Palestinian chants, oh, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, meaning wipe out all of the Jewish in Israel, wipe out all the Israelites. Yeah. Oh, but she rejects genocidal regimes. Except she is in a genocidal regime. Yeah. Anyway, John Fetterman actually, I gotta tell you, I don't know whatever the hell he went through. Can we do that with all Democrats, especially with the Democrat Socialists of America? I mean, seriously, I just want to ask, can we do that? Can we put them all into a near coma and then like bring them out? No, I'm kidding. I'm being facetious. Okay. Calm down. I'm being facetious. Anyway, Fetterman on X said this. He goes, anti-Israel, anti-America, anti-Western civilization. Why am I the only Democrat in the U.S. Senate that refuses to excuse this or defend any of those self-identified communists? Good question, John. Damn good question, Senator Fetterman. I'd like to understand that myself. Anyway. Yeah. Yep. Oh, and she continues, this woman, Chevalier, continues. She infamously expressed anti-white women and anti-American sentiments in deleted social media posts, at one time calling her home country, meaning America, a effing disgrace. Yeah. And by the way, she's also one of the ones that said, I forgot to get napkins, so I just wiped my hand on the American flag behind me. Yeah. Yep. So there you go. I don't know what the solution is here, people. I mean, I understand for the disaffected youth. I mean, you could bring them into the fold, all right? But for these white, affluent, I mean, these awfuls, okay, the awfuls, affluent, white, female, urban liberals, leftists, these awfuls. Yeah, I don't understand it. Why? You went to freaking college. You should have, learned a thing or two in college. That's all I'm saying. You should have learned something in college. Instead, you were indoctrinated into Marxist ideology and a bunch of crap. This is part of the reason why the leftists in the Democrat Party don't want homeschooling to take off. Because you can't control what a homeschooler will teach. See, for me, I would be teaching, real American history. Anyway. All right. Enough about her. And if you think she's bad, I mean, they're all over the place, man. They're everywhere. We have a socialist in downtown Seattle. We have a socialist idiot who got elected the mayor of New York City, who elected helped to elect 3 other socialist morons that are running around. Yeah. Like I said, if you are not scared, literally scared or concerned or any other adjective that would cause you to sit here and go, this is wrong, then you need to wake up and smell the coffee. Okay? All I'm going to say. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to some reality. So the leftists got a few reality checks today by the Supreme Court. And believe me, there have been a lot of decisions that have been kind of straight down ideological lines. Now, for those of you that don't know, there's this place called SCOTUS blog, scotusblog.com, and they will live chat during the opinion readings because of the fact that the Supreme Court doesn't allow, at least at this moment, doesn't allow for live audio or live video inside the Supreme Court proceedings. And so they have reporters who go in and hear the verdicts and then come out and blog on them, and live chat on them. Now, I go there just to see what the opinions are. I don't really care, and by opinions, I mean the Supreme Court opinions. But believe me, they are leftists, okay? Don't get me wrong. SCOTUS blog has got leftists on their live chat, and I don't care about that necessarily, okay? But here, the Supreme Court has issued, this first one that I want to talk about, has issued something that, well, this could have implications across the United States. Now, I don't know about any of you, but have you ever been to a state, and I know I have a lot of Florida folks who are like, we can carry wherever we want, whenever we want, just about any time. I mean, it doesn't really matter. We don't need a license. We don't need to tell anybody. We don't need anything. I get it. Florida is like the free state of the United States, okay? Texas is close. But apparently what happened here in Hawaii, which is a Democrat-run state, Hawaii attempted to say that, no, you cannot carry on private property. Regardless of whether the person on the private property gives you permission to carry or not, you literally cannot carry on private property. Well, that was the attempt. It required gun owners to have to get permission to carry their weapons into stores and hotels. Now, I'm going to put it to you like this, okay? In my view, in a strict constitutionalist viewpoint that I have, a person who is a private property owner that allows the public to come in and utilize their services has zero legal standing to say, we don't allow you as an individual, we don't allow you to exercise your right to self-defense. Okay? Because now what you have is you have this conflict. You have the right of the property owner and the right of the individual. You have two rights that are clashing head to head. When you do, okay, when you have that clash, they cannot interfere with one another. That's the way I look at it. Pretty much my viewpoint is I can do whatever the hell I want as long as it doesn't interfere with anybody else. And so what Hawaii is basically doing is like, hey, you know what? We're going to make it so that even if it's not posted, you can't carry unless you specifically receive permission from the store owner or the hotel owner in order to be able to carry. And I think that's crap. And guess what? So did the Supreme Court. In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court said, well, because of the fact that the Hawaii state law does not require these people to actually post anything in terms of a name, a sign, or anything else, you cannot ban somebody from carrying if you don't specifically say, hey, you can't do this. Now, in 2022, you'll remember that the SCOTUS struck down another concealed carry law in New York, finding that it violated the right to bear arms. And essentially what our greatest Supreme Court justice currently sitting on the Supreme Court, Justice Clarence Thomas, wrote in that majority opinion that the state laws should be consistent with the nation's historical tradition of firearm regulation. Now, of course, since then, the lower courts, see, this is my biggest challenge with the Supreme Court as a whole. They should just simply say, hey, the Second Amendment states the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Pretty simply put, this means you can't tell anybody that they cannot either buy or keep, keep, meaning buy and own, or bear, meaning carry, a firearm. Period. You just can't, because that's exactly what it says. But again, I'm a strict constitutionalist. However, the Supreme Court has been hearing things like the Bruin case and some of these other cases and has been doing a wonderful job at upholding the Second Amendment for the most part. But this particular case may have implications pretty much everywhere, because I know Washington State has laws that essentially say that you can't carry your weapon into certain places. And I look at it and I say, again, going back to the Second Amendment and the strict interpretation and reading of the words, there can't be a law anywhere that blocks me from either being able to keep or bear these arms. Now, notice that I say that knowing and fully understanding that if you are a criminal who has broken laws, you lose those rights. Okay? So if you're a criminal, absolutely, you lose it. It's done. But that's a different case. See, because you lose your freedom when you become incarcerated because of your activities as a criminal. So therefore, again, I keep pointing out, I should not be able to be told by a store that says, hey, I am allowed to carry. Okay? Now, refusal of business, Bonnie points out, she's like, but they can deny you service in their business. Well, yeah, they can. They can ask you to leave. Just like any other time, you can be asked to leave if you are acting like an ass and causing problems and that kind of stuff. Absolutely, they can ask you to leave. Because, again, that is private property. But they can't sit there and stop you from carrying if they allow you on the property. So that's, again, it's kind of a nuance, but there it is. Again, I, as a business owner, can't stop you from wearing an extremely loud shirt or something of a, I can't tell you, hey, take that off. If you're in here, you got to take that off. I can't necessarily tell them that, but I can ask them because it is private property. I can ask you, hey, you can go ahead and leave. You can leave. This is going to be kind of an interesting one. Now, Ketanji Brown Jackson, of course, she wrote her dissent, and of course Kagan and Sotomayor jumped in as well. Anyway, so basically she essentially was like, well, this means that it's not protecting the rights of residents, both those who wish to carry guns and those who prefer that guns are not carried on their private property without express permission. Jackson stressed that she disagrees with Bruin itself, also calling that a grave mistake, but also claimed that the court's objective is protecting guns, not consistently preserving any principle of law. That's a bunch of crap. Again, who hasn't read the Second Amendment? The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. There you go. That's it. That's it. So, yeah. Anyway, she continues by saying that effectively a vampire law, that's what this was called, a vampire law that effectively requires law-abiding citizens to obtain consent everywhere before exercising their Second Amendment right, not only does not implicate the Second Amendment, no, actually it does, because, you know, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. She keeps saying Hawaii's law does not restrict the right to carry a gun at all. Oh, well, okay, what if that law, which of course basically says anytime you're on a private property, see, because again, this is the key, is that the owners didn't have to explicitly state this. Okay. Anyway, yeah, she is basically saying that the state law and customs of those state laws apply greater weight than the federal law on the matter of guns, which basically says shall not be infringed. I'm sorry. Okay. Enough. And by the way, she is not happy with her cohorts. She concluded her dissent with, while purporting to constrain judges, the majority has unmasked the discretionary choices that lie beneath the court's decisions regarding which analogs are vastly different and whose historical experiences are worthy of inclusion. I don't know what the heck that really means. Anyway, she's just like, this is a discretionary choice. No, this is part of the reason why I say you cannot sit here and just make a middle of the road kind of like opinion. You come out and you essentially say the Constitution states clearly the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Period. End of story. That's it. There's no state laws, none of that other stuff. Nothing. You can't do it. Period. Anyway. Yeah. So, the other states that might be impacted by this ruling include New York, Maryland, and California, which took a similar approach to Hawaii. I would actually add potentially Washington in that as well. And essentially, the outcome has made it to where law-abiding gun owners will no longer be forced to beg for special permission to simply exercise their constitutional right to bear arms in public places. I look at it as though you walk into a gun shop. If you walk into a gun shop, usually the gun owners are like, hey, we don't care if you're under arms, as long as it stays in the holster. There you go. There you go. All right. Well, that isn't the only one. The Supreme Court has 2 rulings today on immigration law. The first one is that the Supreme Court actually ruled that asylum seekers may actually be turned away at the border. So the question that came up with this one is actually the definition of in. I'm not kidding. The case, according to Justice Samuel Alito, who wrote on behalf of the majority, he says this case presents a straightforward question: whether an alien who seeks to enter the United States arrives in the United States when he or she is still in Mexico. Seriously? And again, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals answered that, yeah, if an asylum seeker is still in Mexico, okay, if the asylum seeker is still in Mexico, they're not in the United States, folks. They're not here. See, that's the same with like all of these things that are out there. If you don't cross the border, you're not in America. And if you cross the border illegally, you are, according to the courts, still not legally in America, even if you physically are in the borders. I don't know why this concept is so hard for these people to understand. So if you're an asylum seeker and you're in Mexico and you go and try and seek asylum, well, no kidding. The Border Patrol can say, you know what, we're all full up. I'm sorry, but we're all full up, and there you go. You're not allowed. They can do that, according to the Supreme Court, which is right. It's right. It's correct. It is correct. The federal law by itself says any alien who is physically present in the United States or who arrives in the United States may apply for asylum. But they have to be in the U.S. They can't be in Mexico asking for asylum necessarily in Mexico, which is part of the reason why the law actually says, hey, if you're in Mexico and you're seeking asylum, go to the embassy. Guess what? The embassy is American soil. Oh, I know. It's amazing. It's an amazing concept. Well, this next one is really going to piss off the left. So this decision, do you remember back when Kristi Noem was in charge of the Department of Homeland Security and she rescinded the temporary protection status for the Syrians and the Haitians? Well, they took it to court, and it finally reached the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court basically says, yeah, the law itself states that there is no judicial review on this. Oh, by the way, I just want to let you know, yeah, let me show you. These people. Right here. Let me just show you the law. So here's the law. Title 8, Section 1254, 5A. Right here. Now keep in mind, this says that it's the Attorney General who decides who can receive or what countries receive temporary protected status. But if you read right here, there is no judicial review of any determination with respect to the designation, termination, or extension of a designation of a foreign state under this subsection. Oh. So Congress basically said, in terms of which, by the way, they have full right to do so, all right? But Congress has the full right to say, yeah, you know what? We're not even going to bother with any kind of like judicial review. There is no review because the executive branch, i.e. the Attorney General, has full and complete power over this. And that's constitutional. Oh, yeah. Anyway, the leftists, of course, are going to go nuts over that. But there is an even more important thing with regards to the temporary protected status. So one of the arguments that was being made by the folks, by the Haitians, by the Syrians, and the groups supporting them, was essentially that, well, the 14th Amendment Equal Protections Clause. The Equal Protections Clause prevents this from happening. Oh, really? Are you sure about that? Once again, the GOAT. That's right. Justice Clarence Thomas has clarified something. He concurred with the assessment. He concurred with the opinion of the court that the TPS is basically subjected to no judicial review and that it shouldn't have even been there. But he says, I write separately to address two more fundamental problems with the respondent's suit. First, their equal protection claim, while meritless under the court's precedents, was also beyond the district court's jurisdiction. Again, you guys aren't supposed to be hearing these. That isn't your purview. That isn't your sandbox. Get out of there. Get out of the way. But this one, where I've got it highlighted, is much more important. Because do you know how many times I have said on this program and have been chastised by this, that basically people are saying, oh, yes, the U.S. Constitution applies to anybody who is in this border, anyone who is here, that Constitution applies to just about anybody? No, I've told you, and rightfully so, that the Constitution only applies to United States citizens, that we extend certain things that are in the Constitution to others who are not United States citizens, who are essentially out of the goodness of our hearts. Well, it looks like Clarence Thomas, in this one simple sentence, has made that perfectly clear. He says, second, even assuming jurisdiction, the equal protection claim fails for the additional reason that, and here's the quote, aliens have no equal protection rights against the federal government. Sorry. If you're here and you're not a U.S. citizen, guess what? You don't have the same rights as a U.S. citizen. Because the Constitution only applies to U.S. citizens. Period. Full stop. End of story. See, if you're here as an alien, even if you come here on a green card, you have to have a special status, even on a green card, in order to exercise what would be considered your Second Amendment rights. Because a green card holder can't purchase a firearm. An alien here under a work visa cannot purchase a firearm, which is just one of many examples as to what they are not supposed to be able to do because they are not U.S. citizens. Plain and simple, the United States Constitution applies in whole to U.S. citizens only. And, by the way, this whole idea where if you come here and all of a sudden, if you're an alien who's here on a green card, yeah, you come here into the United States and you start spouting off anti-American sentiments and, anti-American stuff, guess what? If you're on a green card, you can be deported. The U.S. Constitution, free speech, doesn't apply to you. It doesn't. And yet all these leftist lunatic idiots are out there. They all think, oh, yeah, the Second Amendment, everything. No, it applies. No, it doesn't. It does not apply. The American U.S. Constitution applies in whole to United States citizens only. Now, next Monday is the next opinion reading day. Here's a couple of opinions that I am waiting on. Number one, birthright citizenship. That's right. And I'll be honest with you, that one is the one that I think is the most important. But then a couple of other ones are, they don't necessarily apply across the board to Americans, but they certainly apply to the power of the executive branch. For an example, the Trump versus Slaughter case, which is how far can Congress go in erecting legal hurdles to the president's firing power? See, there's a concept here, and the same thing with the Federal Reserve. And I have no idea where this concept came from. But there seems to be this concept that the Congress can actually set up, quote unquote, independent agencies that are beyond oversight of the executive. And I hate to point it out. No, I don't hate to point it out. I rightfully want to and clearly point out to everyone. Congress can make that law, but it is up to the president to execute that law. Meaning that the president has control in implementing the law. See, this is part of the problem. Everybody seems to think that Congress can just say, well, you know what, Mr. President, you don't have control over this. There's only one exception to that, which, by the way, I think is unconstitutional anyway, is the formation of the Internal Revenue Service. See, the Internal Revenue Service actually does not fall under the executive branch, even though the executive branch is doing it, because the Internal Revenue Service is taking or is doing the job that Congress is supposed to be doing, which is collecting taxes. Now, in my personal opinion, that itself is unconstitutional because Congress cannot hand over or delegate their authority to somebody else. There is no mechanism in the Constitution that allows for that. And so, I don't think, me personally, I don't think the Internal Revenue Service is constitutional by itself. Now, Congress should enact their own setup in order to do all the collection of taxes. But at the same time, though, things like, the 16th Amendment, which created the institution of income taxes for the United States, I think that is actually potentially unconstitutional as well. But anyway, the fact of the matter, and I kind of got off the track here. Let me go ahead and give a horn. I got off the track, but the fact of the matter is that the executive branch, the president, has the right to populate or put in the personnel that he or she desires to hire for all of these positions. There is no quote unquote independent regulatory body because Congress just decides that, this is an independent regulatory body. No, it's not. The regulatory bodies work under and for the President of the United States, which is the same idea as the Attorney General of the United States. He or she works for the President in enforcing and implementing the laws that Congress puts together. Anyway, there's also the Federal Reserve firing as well, which is another one. But I'm seriously, the one that I am waiting on is the birthright citizenship case. That one, if the court is going to do this properly, the court would basically say, literally, if you are not born of an American citizen, at least one, and if you do not have full and complete jurisdiction based off of the 14th Amendment Senate debates, full and complete jurisdiction, meaning political jurisdiction as well as legal jurisdiction in the United States, that you cannot in any way, shape, or form become a natural born citizen. See, because of the purpose of this was to avoid foreign influence. It was to avoid the idea that you could have parents from another country, from a foreign land, be born within the United States, be considered a natural born citizen, and ascend to power in the presidency. Yeah. That is where the founders were afraid. And I hope that comes out on Monday. But if it doesn't come out on Monday, it might come out the next day. So there's still several other opinions that are still being that are still waiting to come out. But that one, in my mind, that one is one of the most important. Alrighty, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time that I go live. Also, too, don't forget to give me a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or in the case of 3 Chevy, a thumb sideways or maybe at an angle across all my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.